you're the CEO of your career, and so treat it like a business. LinkedIn is a place to be found, so make sure you spend time building out your LinkedIn profile.
People want to get to know you, how you think, how you interact, what's your point of view. LinkedIn gets you in the door. Your resume is your story.
But we wanted to chat about this job hunting.
Yeah.
There was a few. I think you spoke to someone, or you saw something where people. Certainly I do as well. Like, just struggle with the. How do I do it? Like, what do I do?
Mm-hmm.
So I thought we could discuss a few do's and don'ts and tips and tricks on what to do if you're currently out of work, or really keen to get out of work, because we know that this LinkedIn and Microsoft survey came out, and in the US it's like 80-something% of people are looking to leave their jobs right now, and globally it was like 40-ish% or 45%. I'll put the actual survey in the show notes so we get the actual figures. But what is interesting, because a lot of people are thinking about it, and I think if you haven't moved for a while, it's like, oh my god, what do I do?
Yeah, and things are changing really rapidly. And so I think for us, it's also about staying ahead and helping guide people in the right ways of, I would say, the modern way to look for a job, because I don't think it's ever been more prolific than it is right now, either people looking or people kind of experiencing transition right now. And so I was thinking, we could talk about the do's, but, just to get it one layer deeper, it's like, here's what to do. And then I think we could also talk about how to do it, because I think there's a lot of mental blocks too that prevent people from really pushing through on some of the pieces that are really critical to getting into that next opportunity.
Definitely. What's your number one thing? Like, if someone says to you, like, Jamie, oh my god, like, what shall I do? What's your first thing?
What do you want to do? Like, you really need to be clear on what it is you want to do. Because I have a saying, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there.
True. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
And it takes a lot of work to, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, sorry, go on.
Yeah. It's like, you want to move, but there's a lot of motion that has to happen before you can take the action. And I think that's what people are most surprised by, is how much for lack of a better term, soul searching that goes into the next opportunity.
Yeah, no, that's true. So you could be, you could be in a job that you really, or a career that you enjoy.
Yeah.
You might have hit a ceiling. You might not like your manager, your team, whatever it might be. And you want to stay in that career. And so that's a bit easier, right? It's like, you already know. And now you're looking for either the step up, or, as we've discussed a few times, maybe a little crab maneuver, and just like maneuver laterally into a different environment.
Yeah.
But if you want to transition, then that's a whole different ballgame. And that's mentally quite difficult, I think, to your point.
Yeah, but even in the first scenario, I would pressure test, what does a different environment look like? What does your manager do now that you can prevent in the future? How much of that is stuff that you need to work on versus the stuff that we think can be outsourced, to our work environment? So I would still push on all of those things, even if someone's in a really great opportunity, in order to really help people move forward. I think you have to unlock the kind of the stuff that's a little bit under the surface, or even unconscious, to get people thinking about not just what's in it for them in the next move that they make, but also how do they match with the right environment that's going to help them continue to thrive.
Yeah,
I think sometimes we look at the critical things, right? A compensation, and those are tangible, but there's something really intangible that you can unlock by going through the motion of really unpacking what it is that you're really trying to get out of that next move.
Yeah, that's true. And have someone to talk it through with.
Yes, that's exactly where I was going.
Yeah, because it's like talking through in your head, but you know what it's like when you get into your own head and you're like overthinking and you like end up thinking in circles, whatever. So it's useful to have someone like a mate called Gary, or whoever you got, someone that's like you can talk it through with. And there's a lot of value to that. I call it, like, I always talk about building a personal board of directors. So, your career, you're the CEO of your career, and so treat it like a business, and have people around you that have different perspectives and different careers, walks of life, whatever. They're not just going to say yes, 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 and they'll challenge you. And if you have those people around you, some people call it mentors, call it, whatever you want to call them, but just someone that you can call and be like, what do you think?
Yeah.
Is really useful.
So the first do is build your personal board of directors.
Yes.
Okay.
Love that. Whatever level you are, like
Any level.
whatever level. Yeah. And because I do hear this a lot when I tell people to do this, like, no, they're not going to want to spend time with me. Like, the senior people aren't going to want to, all of that thing. So let me tell you, so many people will say yes if you ask them. A lot of people are willing to, you're talking a lot, like 10, 15, 20 minutes, half an hour for coffee, virtual coffee. People like to help people. So just ask. Hey, ask 10 people, maybe like 6 will say yes or something. So.
Well, that goes into the next piece, right? The other thing that we would say is network, but the mental barrier for that fear of rejection. What can I really get out of this conversation? And not really understanding where to start, I think holds people back from really unlocking the power of their network.
Yes.
So, yeah. So if you do the first thing, which is build your personal board of directors, you'll have gotten used to what we love to talk about, discernment, right? Like really paying attention to the people that are making time for you, because those really should be the people that emerge to be on your board of directors. You might be a little bit like recruiting. We have our aspirational, our aspirational goals, but realistically, there's a time investment and an energetic investment that goes into it. So finding those people takes some time, and then you'll have gotten used to that kind of next piece, which is broadening the network.
Yeah, definitely. And as they say, I always say they, but I don't know who they are. Your network's your net worth.
Army of the unknown.
The royal they. So networking is huge, and the personal board of directors thing, absolutely, because you'll find these opportunities within opportunities. Like you've plucked up the courage to ask someone to spend half an hour a quarter with you. That might lead to other opportunities. They might know people, referrals, So I think as you build your career, networking, and also networking is about spending time with people, not selling, just to be really clear. Because a lot of the time in business, people are like, hey, I'm networking, but really they're like just trying to sell to people. And people don't like to be sold to. And it's not networking, that's selling. Like I get all of these LinkedIn emails. It's all sales messages. It's like, hey, do you want to catch, grab a coffee? By the way, do you want to buy my life insurance plan or something? So networking for me, to be clear, is quid pro quo. We both get something out of it. You're not going in with an agenda. You're not going in asking for a job or, demanding off the bat for them to recommend you to their boss and colleagues. And, so I think go in like looking to help, to give. There's this wonderful thing called reciprocity. So, like you give, they give. That's kind of how a friendship works, right? And don't expect to get something out of that first call. So genuinely networking is sharing ideas and having a conversation. And that is something you have to invest time in over the long term. And if you do it at the beginning, when you need your network, they'll be there for you. But
right. I was just thinking that, because if I find sometimes, there's always the do, so we'll flip to the don't. And I don't like to lead with the negative, but I would say if there's a light side to the do of building your board of directors and networking, the don't side would be being so specific and so tactical that you end up going to people who really can't help you, but you've created this kind of such a strong vision in your mind. You have to leave room, to your point, for the creativity to flow. And I think that is the biggest caveat of being so specific in what you're looking for, that you've narrowed your lane to a point where it's extremely hard for people then to be able to help you. And when people can't help you, they shut down because no one wants to disappoint anyone. And it becomes more about the other person than it does about you. And so building the personal board of directors is a very personal thing. And you have to really, I think that's when you make it a little bit more about you. But when you're networking, you can make it a little bit more about them.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to read it to you because I got this today on LinkedIn. Hi, Lewis. I won't mention the person's name. This is the first message. I've had 3 from them, right? So connection request I accepted, and they said, I am passionate about entrepreneurship as well as you are. Let's connect. So I connected. Then they said, thanks for connecting. Don't worry, no sales pitches. So it's a sales pitch, right? just hoping to be of value and build relationships. Are you interested in exploring opportunities for collaboration or share industry insights? Maybe I would have said, yeah, let's have a chat. And then it's the PS at the end, because they said PS in capitals. I help business owners and founders to build transferable enterprise value with effective business strategies and position their mid-market companies for successful business exit. So they're trying to sell me, right? So I ignored it. And then they sent me another one. How rude you didn't reply. Okay. They said, I believe there's a lot we can discuss and learn from each other. I'd love the opportunity to exchange ideas and collaborate in the future. Maybe I would have said yes. But then they went on to say, by the way, do you want me to value your business? Maybe I can sell it for you. What's your exit strategy? So my point is, if they'd have just stopped with, hey, I'd love to connect and have a chat, well, maybe I would have said, yeah, awesome. But the minute you start to sell, it's not networking. It's just a sales message disguised as networking. So I think just be mindful of that. So looking for a job, I wouldn't go in with like, I really need a job. Do you want to meet me? Can you grab a drink with me or something? Or Google Meet.
Yeah. Well, you're coming with an agenda. And to your point about networking, there's an energetic exchange. And if that person feels like they can't meet, your agenda, or they don't have the same agenda, it's hard to find that magnetism that makes people want to connect. But if someone comes to you and says, I'd love to collaborate and exchange ideas, that sounds pretty fun. Then you might go a step further and be like, am I the right person? Am I the right person for you? If so, it's like building that framework of yeses. Like, how do you, if you have, 4 questions, does this person work in my industry? Is it possible I would run into this person in 10 years? Like, you should be thinking about that. It's not what I can do for you today. Is this person going to be around in a decade? Because I think you and I are both really big subscribers to the idea that the long arc of careers is what kind of keeps people in the game. And so you could have that as a tactic. Does this person know people in common with me? And, whatever that other thing is that you're looking for. And if you can get to 4 yeses, that person should be in your network. And sometimes you can approach it and say, I'm surprised we don't already know each other. We have so many people in common. It would be great to connect with you. And if you have some time now or in the future, it'd be great to find some time to talk. And that's a really great way. Also, that person now is, quote, in your network. People think that networking means it has to be a 30-minute conversation. And I don't think I think we can disabuse ourselves with the notion that we have to, if it's a networking event, if we spend, X amount of time together.
Yeah, no, I agree. The way I look at it is a difference between day trading and investing.
Okay. I love this analogy. I love a good analogy. Tell me more.
Here we go. Day trading is, I'll buy some crypto now. I'll sell it in like 5 hours time and make a little thing, right? Day trading. So it's just speculating. Investing, when you invest in something, investing's for the long term. So you're going to invest in something, it might be the stock market, it might be a house, whatever it might be. And you're going to leave it for a while, right? And it's going to accumulate, compound over time. And for me, that's investing. And this is investing in your network and your career. So for me, that's how I thought about it from day one. I'm like 20 years in now, and I still speak with and work with the same people I met on day one now as I do then. So imagine like 20 years of building a relationship, making friends and stuff. Like, I'm friendly with these people. So, and then and then I've been investing time with people, because you can't be friends with people unless you invest time in them. And that's how I think of it. So, you know, if you're early on in your career, anywhere, any stage in your career, right? Like it's never too late. It's never too early. You know, like just think about it like that.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna end up having a whole good group of friends, and friends are happy to help each other. That's the thing, right?
Mm-hmm. And we talked about this the other day, but I think it is something that we could do another whole conversation around is, you know, the speed versus timing. Just because I connect with you today doesn't mean I immediately need to like derive the entire value of our connection in one day, in one conversation. Like it can be something that has strategic timing around, you know, here it's great to meet you. We're going to stop for a moment because life is busy. We're going to move on. And then I'm going to start, you know, investing, to your point, time, or I'm going to invest in your content, or I'm going to invest in, you know, what is it, spending time observing, how can I be helpful to this person? So that when the time comes, you can be the person that they come to. And so you're actually inverting the networking conversation and becoming somebody that people want to network with. That also creates a really nice space where you can take a lot of the pressure off of yourself to, quote, build your network. And then you can become the person to whom people want to connect with and network, because you know, the more you give, the more you get. And right now, you know, it's a really important time to do the work of investing but also to do the work on investing in yourself. Because the more work that you do, again, with step one, which is really gaining feedback from your board of directors, and then, you know, creating a plan for yourself where you're really testing and pressure testing again and again. These are the things that I want out of my career. These are the people that I want to connect with. You're creating a much more strategic plan for yourself than, you know, just kind of reaching out in the dark and kind of, right? Hope is not a strategy. So first build your personal board of directors to, you know, create a long-term investing strategy in your network. And then I think 3 is invest in yourself. Is that one of the things?
Always learning. Absolutely. So I think it's a good summary of that. A really good summary, because learning, developing, educating yourself in, if you want to change career, what that is. Also, I think other thing to add is, this is maybe the execution part. And I've got a few tips on that.
Right. So, because we're all about execute. You just nailed it. That we're all about execution, but getting to the point where you can execute is a lot of work.
Yeah. Because all of this stuff, it's great. But the danger is you can get lost in all of this and do nothing. So absolutely, like, sit down with someone you trust, personal board of directors, whoever it is, and like, you know, I'm on the right track here. It's good to do that every so often anyway, right? Just take a stock check of where you're at in your career and stuff. So you've done that. You know where you're headed. You know some of the things you want to do, and it's about executing. So for this kind of thing, that means actually like connecting with people. How do you do it? And so, I mean, obviously LinkedIn is incredible, right? Like you can do that from home, sitting on your couch, and you can go out and network like crazy just on LinkedIn. So I think for that, make sure your profile is really good. I spoke with someone the other day. They said, they were like, I spoke with them for like half an hour. They're like, I need to send you my resume. Like, I got an external career consultant to do it. It cost me like X to do. I'm really proud of it. Send it to me. I'm like, send me your LinkedIn profile first. Let me just check that out. He was like, I haven't really done my LinkedIn profile. I was like, well, let me check. So I went on his LinkedIn profile, shared my screen. I mean, it was like he hadn't done any of it. I was like, why are you spending money on your resume? No one uses the resume anymore. The LinkedIn profile. You can actually build your resume from the LinkedIn profile. There's like a little option. It will build your resume. So anyway, point is, LinkedIn is a place to be found. So make sure you spend time building out your LinkedIn profile, like the headline. I want to know who you are within that first screenshot. And when people look at your profile, they're going to be like, oh yeah, I'd love to connect with Jamie. Yeah, we're in the same space, we're in the same industry, you know, whatever. Yeah, you know, makes sense. I'd love to network with you too, because it's quid pro quo. So do that. And then it's really easy. You go on the search bar at the top, and you can just put in, like, I don't know, if you're in talent acquisition in financial services or something, and you want to go and meet other talent acquisition professionals in financial services, you can just put that in the search bar. You can then order it by people. You can look at content that other talent acquisition folks are doing, and you'll get a list of just loads and loads of people that are active in your industry. And then you can start liking and commenting on their stuff. Because if you like and comment on all my stuff regularly, and then you drop me a DM saying, "Hey Lewis, I'd love to like jump on a call and network," I'm like 1,000 times more likely to be like, "Oh my god, yes, like who's this Jamie like liking my stuff all the time?" That's it.
That's the timing of it all. But it's, I think, a balance of the execution and the strategy, right? What are you, in order for people to know who to connect with on LinkedIn, you got to do the homework, and really think about exactly how you only have so much time and energy, right? How do I really want to maximize and optimize, because at the end of the day, LinkedIn is technology enablement to get us to the people that we want to connect with. And
Yeah.
that's what it's really a great tool for. But there's a lot of noise. And so how do you hear the signal? A lot of it is, how do you hear the signal through the noise?
Yeah. It's great to connect, definitely. I think the other use for me that we spend a lot of time doing, which is like one of the most important things nowadays, is building your personal brand. So it's really important. And you can do that on social media. LinkedIn is great for business because people, again, like if you build your personal brand and people start looking at you and looking at your content and your commenting and stuff, it builds your credibility and it builds your profile in your industry, and you'll be valuable to people, and people will want to connect with you and they'll want to have a conversation. And that's why it's so important now. And you can do it at zero cost, apart from a little bit of time. You make a coffee. And if you do that now, if you implement that into your game, then like you're investing in like your future. It's going to have a huge impact. And you can literally start by liking and commenting, because that's content too. And you could share articles, and you could then, once you get into it, you can create your own content. And you could do video like this or whatever. It's an and game, right? So you can do all of these different things. It all works, and you will see the benefit if you do it regularly.
What do you say to people who, I wouldn't say shy, but are reticent to really get active on LinkedIn? Like,
cover your eyes and just press post. Just cover your eye. Don't even look. You can press and run away. Like, the thing is, right? Like,
I talk to so many people that really want to post on LinkedIn and don't really know where to start. And I think there is a culture around not necessarily wanting to have, a digital footprint. There's also, some cultural, maybe in some, environments where, it's not always easy to have a voice, because, we the more you post, the more you put yourself out there, you're bound to step into, I wouldn't say controversy, but you're going to maybe put something out there that's going to, create a different awareness of who you are to your, let's say, your audience, or you don't even realize you have an audience. And so how do people, balance wanting to find, a career, wanting to stay in this more modified cultural environment of keeping your, yourself a little bit and your opinions a little bit more the company line, with, doing the things that are a little bit more vulnerable so people can get to know you? Because I think if we really talk about what we're trying to get at, we're saying that people want to get to know you, how you think, how you interact, what's your point of view. And we used this word earlier in an earlier conversation. It's a bit of a paradox for people.
So I'm going to say most industries, because there's some where people are on LinkedIn. I mean, some government jobs, like so very some sensitive jobs where you might not be on LinkedIn. Fine. There's also like not everyone's on LinkedIn. Like, let me just start there. So maybe this is context of your industry, but I would say by and large, 90%, 80%. I mean, like a very high proportion of people. And for most people watching this, your current boss team, your future boss team are probably on LinkedIn. So I'd go as far as to say that.
Is that your
And
audience though? Like when we're talking about people liking, commenting, and putting content out there, is that become their audience, the people that they'd want to work with or work for?
yeah, I think nowadays to we talk about what's the difference that makes a difference a lot of the time. And
It's my favorite.
what's
It's my favorite
great
question.
work.
It's the question of 2024.
It's my favorite question, right? Let's put it in perspective. Like, of course, don't go on LinkedIn, don't post. Yeah, you have a good, you could have a great career. Fine. Are you going to get the phone calls for the big jobs? Maybe. Only if people know you. How am I going to find you for that CEO job if you're, in an industry where your peers are on LinkedIn, right? Now, again, we do some searches where they're very sensitive and these people aren't there, and we use various other methods to find people. So, but we're talking about LinkedIn right now, and let's just assume you're in a job where people are on LinkedIn. If you don't get found, you're not going to get found. Like that's the world now. Like again, it's attention. You want attention, and you want to be found by people. And you might be the best XYZ in the industry, but if no one's finding you, you're not going to get the opportunities. And this whole point of this conversation is like, how do I get that next job? And so you can apply for job ads, sure, like maybe hundreds, 200 other people. If you're not in that top 20, not even worth applying. But when you get to leadership roles, so the roles that we focus on, yeah, there's a thing like we don't advertise jobs. So if you don't know us, you're not going to get the phone call. Or if we can't find you, you're not going to get the phone call. Or if someone doesn't refer you, you're not going to get the phone call. So you need to be known in some way. And so I think a big you'll put yourself on the back foot a little if you don't have a LinkedIn profile and you're not active in your industry. And so you can broaden it out by saying like you don't go talk at events, you don't go to networking events. It's a real like in-person stuff. So all the in-person stuff, it's an and game as well, right? So all of that works. And if you're commenting on your peers' content and you're sharing your ideas with your peers, there's a huge value in that. And I think a lot of people get more opportunities if they're doing that than if they're not doing that.
So what I think that people can get from this, and I think it's a really important call out, is it's an incredible platform for inclusion, because not everybody is speaking at conferences, because we don't always get the opportunity when you're sitting in a large organization and maybe, it's kind of directed at a peer or somebody else that kind of gets on that circuit. LinkedIn then becomes this great equalizer and an amazing platform for people to be known who have voices that should be heard. And just because their current environment doesn't allow for it for XYZ reasons, if you're really, taking everything in, we're saying, here's how you strategize, here's how you build your personal brand, here's how you make sure you're targeting the audience that you want to bring into your community. Here's how you get involved in the right community. And then here's how you build a platform for yourself in a way that gets you known, where maybe in that cloak and dagger past, everyone wanted the person at the conference. And now we know there's incredible voices out there. And then this becomes the conference. This becomes the place where you get to be the expert that everybody is looking for. So I think it's an incredible tool for inclusion. LinkedIn should probably want to sponsor this, because we are absolutely advocating for building up your LinkedIn presence.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I mean, it levels the playing field.
Levels the playing field.
Let me tell you, when I set up my business, I used to have to take an advert out in the newspaper. Call me 0800 50 50 50, best recruiting firm. I don't, but back then, like no joke, it was like there was like the bigger firms had a bigger budget and could advertise more. Right now, you don't have to spend money on adverts, and you can do organic LinkedIn content that gets hundreds of thousands of views and impressions for free. Like, unbelievable, right? That's for a business, but as an individual, it's the same, right? Like, to your point, maybe maybe your company are promoting or pushing someone else in your team. Do you want to go do the speaking event? And they were like, yeah. Maybe they're more confident. Maybe they're just, you're not confident to do that. So this person gets pushed and the brand gets built. This person's brand gets built and you get left behind. Now, we talk about these circles of control, right? The thing with LinkedIn is it's in your circle of control. It's something that you can do to push your business, right? Like your career is your business, to push your own business forward at zero cost and have an incredible impact, more impact than that person going to the conference, because more people are going to see potentially one of your LinkedIn posts than they're ever going to watch that speech that colleague of yours does in front of 200 people. Maybe it never goes at 200 people. You can get like that. You can get like 2,000 easily with just writing something on LinkedIn. I mean, it's like crazy, right? So that's it. I mean, I think it's just an incredible tool. It levels the playing field, and it's something that you can control. And you can start just by liking and commenting on people's stuff. You don't have to go crazy and thinking about all of the different, creating your own unique posts to start with, because a comment will go to that person's network, will go to your network, and you can share a little bit of thought. And that's it. And if you do that regularly, then again, you're going to be found more. When people look at when people look at your profile, and if they look at your activity, they'll see you contributing. So for me, for example, I do a lot of content. Now, when I speak with anyone now, the conversation changes. It's about content, but the content of the content, so to speak, right? We're speaking about recruiting, future work, whatever, all of this kind of things. And you can put yourself in the same position by doing that. So that's what I would do, looking for a job.
I love that. And then I think one of the results that we'll see is it changes the potential interview cycle. Because in the past, it's been, I need to spend all this time getting to know you. And there's a level of comfort when you've been interacting with someone on LinkedIn. You do get to know a little bit about how that person thinks. Because if you really think about an interview process, and I think this will be helpful for a lot of people that are wondering what happens in that assessment period. The first thing that everyone should know is that every company and every person typically assesses differently. Some companies standardize assessment. So you're oftentimes walking into a conversation, not all the time, but oftentimes really with a blank slate. The benefit to putting yourself, in a position where people are getting to know you prior to that first conversation is it elevates the conversation. You're now talking about much higher level thinking. You're talking about much bigger ideas, and you're spending less time verifying information. And so I also agree. I think what I've really thought about resume versus LinkedIn is LinkedIn gets you in the door. Your resume is your story, if people want to take the time to read it. Some people do. Some people really still lean on it. But it's not really the entry point anymore. And so now it's almost like, if you think about the content that you're putting out there, it's almost like this 3D resume. It's now become like you're part of your CV.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's an incredible tool if you choose to use it and if you choose to lean in. I think it will help if you lean in. My just kind of advice is always be professional on there. And it's a professional networking site. Some other social media sites are like a cesspit with stuff, right? People are hide behind anonymous handles and things. LinkedIn, it's yourself, right? Like your name, it's who you are, and it's important to be professional and thoughtful about what you say and how you comment. And generally, people are, which is why I like the platform so much, because it's typically quite thoughtful content and comments and stuff. So, just.
And I think that, I was like, how do we tie this back to tie it all together? That's a great way to also, bring your network in. Like, hey, Lewis, I put this post out there. I would love to get your thoughts and feedback on that. Is that something that you relate to? This is something that I'm really thinking about often. Is it something that you're thinking about? Who else is thinking about this? And so I think there's an opportunity to pull, I'm a really big fan of like pulling the thread through and making sure that you're actually stitching something together and not unraveling it. And so, it's constantly making sure for me that, the relevance is there, not just to myself, right? Because to your point about um, when you said the word professional, that means something to everybody. If your version of professionalism is different than my version or different from the audience that I'm really trying to connect with, I think it's nice to get that feedback and to make sure that
Yeah.
you're connecting with your community in a way that, feels professional to everybody. Because I think that we're in an era where we have to also recognize that we all have bias around how we show up. And we all think that the way that we are in the world is, and of course, on a deeper level, it's how we think of ourselves is the most important thing. I'm a big advocate of, self-acceptance, right? And a lot of grace. But when you're on a professional networking site, it is important to make sure that your your value of professionalism is staying on top of kind of the modern workforce and trends. And so being
Yes.
mindful and having an openness, I can give an example where, I have met someone through the posts that I've done. And if I've posted something that doesn't connect with the community at large, I've gotten feedback like, hey, did you know that this is something that's trending? And, it's an opportunity for me to just check myself, and check my intent. And I don't know if that's the best example because that was very vague, but my point is your community as you're building it will give you feedback to make sure that you are staying in the professional realm. You're not
Yeah.
necessarily walking into that place of, there is a, especially here in the US, there's a feeling of wanting to say the right thing because of how, how you'd never want to put anyone in a situation where um they can't connect, or I would never want to put someone in a situation
Yeah.
where I'm so far into a dialogue with myself that I've lost the connection point. So I think
Yeah.
touching back with your network is really important, especially in the world of, including your community into your thinking. Here's why I'm thinking it. Here's how I'm thinking about it. Because there is a place where professionalism and point of view can become a little bit muddled.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I like the point of view. I was going to mention that. I like that word because people do value people with a point of view. I think with the professionalism, it absolutely means different things to different people. I think with LinkedIn, a lot of the time, you can steer clear of like prickly, divisive topics, and you can build your brand in your area of specialism, so to speak, right? So, so we speak about all things related to future of work, recruiting, HR, DEI, entrepreneurship, leadership, those topics, right? And we build our brands in that. And so I think, you can do that. And it's a conversation starter when you meet people. People are more likely to connect with you. And
Mhm.
so tying it back to a job search, if you want to be connecting with headhunters, and
Mhm.
pretty much headhunters will look at what you're doing online and stuff, and they'll form some kind of opinion. Um, People that you might want to work with in your industry, or people that you want to connect with, like so connect with people in the industry, and then you want to be keeping connect, like building your business network all the time. People you've worked with in the past, ex-colleagues, and all of that, and then put those all together, and then that's your network that you build over time. And it's nice to give back to your network, and I think that giving back is through content. It's one way to do it. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good
And you
spot.
can give back by connecting to other people's content. That's a gift to
Yes.
people because it gives them the feedback that we were just talking about to just, check in and make sure, I'm navigating this terrain in the best way possible. And we never know what's going to be. Listen, we don't shy away from prickly topics. That's not the intent is not that, you're always going to say something that is going to feel true to you, but may not feel true to someone else. That's okay. Those are the things that I think are really important and inspire a lot of really interesting dialogue. And for me, that's a really big part of the community that I love building, which is people that teach me I want to
Yeah.
learn. So I love being part of a group and a community that is on a learning journey. I love sharing what I've learned, but for me, it's about continuing the education and not becoming, I think that's, where, the opportunity on LinkedIn is more of a question than an answer, right? How do you open up a conversation versus closing it down? And how do you create more conversation through how you're engaging with your community? And quite honestly, LinkedIn is great for the work that we were talking about earlier, building your confidence, building your community, helping you become successful. When you're in your job, that's not when you should stop networking. That's when you should
That's
really
when you
be at your best with your network.
100% do it always. Don't do it just when you need it, because it then doesn't feel authentic. And this is a beautiful thing about life, is making friends, connect with like-minded people, to your point. And you just do that your whole career. And LinkedIn is a social networking site, right? So social, so it means like you can connect with people and stay connected with people. And so, use it like that. And then, the byproduct, so to speak, or when you need your network will be there for you, and things like that. So
I know.
I like that.
Think of
Last point.
a net.
My last.
Cool net.
Sorry, say that again.
I think of a net all the time. Whenever I think of my network, I just think of this like really wonderful net knotted together of people that are, there for you if you're taking a leap or you're doing something new for yourself. It's the people that are there kind of holding you up.
It's amazing. And look, if I think about myself, I live in London, and over the years have built a great network of friends in London. And then with LinkedIn and with video technology, I've been able to build and make friends with people all over the world and stay in touch with them and see what they're up to and exchange ideas. And so, it makes the world that bit smaller. So it's so powerful if used in the right way. It's been brilliant. I think for me, my last point on this is to appreciate that it can be really difficult to look for a new job, especially if you're out of work, because mentally it's difficult, right? Like you need to pay the bills. And if you're not being productive and working over time, it takes a toll on you mentally. So I think really be quite organized with it. Maybe just have some tasks in the day that you're going to do. Whether it's you make a coffee, 5 minutes liking people's content, 10 minutes applying for job ads, etc., right? You can just organize like almost a little day planner. And it's, for me, really good. Take contract roles if you need to, like be productive, be active. There's a lot of online learning stuff you can do to stay relevant. So, if you do all of these things and be active, it keeps you in a better mindset. And so, be thoughtful about that.
Yeah. Push on the learning piece is so important. It creates, we oftentimes think about, an interview as a past tense thing. And I think what is becoming more and more intriguing, especially as we're talking to leaders in a world of, let's just make it about AI, right? In this world where technology is evolving, I think it's incredibly important for anyone looking for a role, in a role, out of a role, to demonstrate this continual, thirst for new knowledge, thirst for how to do things in the future. Because the idea of predicting how someone will operate in a new environment is easily as important as what you've done. And so don't think that, the resume to me is more historical. Here's what I've done. And I think LinkedIn then can be the more forward thinking platform. Here's how I would do it. Here's how I would tackle this problem. Here's how I would think about this. Because we have to be focusing forward. We have to be falling forward right now. We have to be thinking about the future. We have to have a point of view. And a point of view really is focusing on something that's in front of us. And so for anyone that's out there thinking, what can I do today to find that next opportunity? If you take a course, you're going to meet people in your field, you're going to be inspired, you're going to have new ideas, you're going to come back to LinkedIn, really motivating people to learn something new. that's going to keep the energy high. It's going to keep the wheels in motion. So that's my plug for continual learning. It's more important to me than probably anything else when I interview a leader that's really thinking about the way forward.
Love that. What a great place to end. Great place to end. Love it. Good stuff.
Right.
I'm going to actually say that I interviewed someone the other day, asked them where they get their information and news from, and they were like, TikTok all day long.
TikTok. What a way to really hit on a theme in 15 seconds or less.
Maybe that should be the next podcast, learning from TikTok.
The Cliff Notes of Life.
The Cliff Notes of Life. I'm ending now. If you want to hear the TikTok one, you've got to tune in next time. Nice one.